Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist. In today's video, we're going to talk about layoffs and what you can do to continue working in the US if you are affected by a layoff. In this channel, we talk about green card categories in which you can self-petition, and that means that you don't have to have a job offer, you don't have to have a company sponsoring you, and you don't even have to have a lawyer. This is one of the routes you can use to avoid being in trouble if you are laid off, of course. But today we're going to talk about other ways you can have to avoid that situation of being removed from the US life that you have if you lose your job. Today we talk about layoffs because layoffs happen frequently. We are in a year or a couple of years where layoffs are happening very, very frequently. And sometimes they come, well, always they come in waves, and we are in a wave right now. 10 to 30% of the jobs that are being lost, particularly in the tech sector, are people that are in H-1B visas, people that are in the US as temporary workers in specialized occupations, and these are highly skilled individuals. So those are the perfect target people to find a way to get a green card like EB-2NIW or EB-1A. If these people that are on H-1B visa lose their job, they have only 60 days to find a new job in their sector, and that company must also sponsor them. Okay, so right now this is the situation. We come from a very big layoff wave. It seems it's been going down, but the perception out there is that layoffs are still very much happening, and the numbers are still very high, and people are having more and more difficulties to find that position within 60 days. It happens in all the industries, but of course, tech is the number one. Within tech, there's many different subfields. All this information comes from this great website called layoffs.fyi that I truly recommend. Like I said, one way to avoid being in a situation where your status in the US is compromised is to, as quickly as you can, start thinking about a green card. And if you are on an H-1B visa, that means that you are highly skilled. So that means that you probably qualify for either EB-1 or EB-2. In EB-1, we have EB-1A that is a green card where you can self-petition. So I have a website dedicated for that type of green card, and I have an online course that you can check out where I will show you how to do this by yourself without lawyers. On the other hand, a slightly lower standard is EB-2NIW, and I have a website, eb2niw.info, where you can find a lot of information, including also an online course to do this by yourself. If you are from India or China, EB-1 should be your first choice because the backlog for EB-2 is too long for those countries. What are we going to discuss? I'm not sure if it's going to be all in the same video or I'm going to break this into two videos depending on how long it goes, but what are the alternatives that H-1B holders have when they are laid off to avoid being in a very negative situation in terms of immigration? The first point or the first big chunk here is the announcement from Canada. Canada has just made in the recent days a few announcements that are really interesting. Even though this channel is about the US, about green cards, I think Canada is a good option for people that need to at least temporarily find a way to, work somewhere else that is relatively close, that is relatively the same culture, and maybe come back once their green card process is finalized. And number two is this announcement from USCIS that came last week about EAD cards issued for people that cannot file adjustment of status yet because of the backlog, but they can get it under compelling circumstances. And I'll explain why this guidance that they issued is not great news, even though we have a lot of YouTube videos there that really, this is for views. It's like for the algorithm, they have these very positive thumbnails saying, finally, relax rules, policy updates, good news, relaxed rules. You see all the same kind of language in different channels, but the reality, unfortunately, is not as great. So I'll cover that in detail so you can understand what this is. Let's go to Canada. So before we jump into this text, I want to show you the remarks from the Minister of Immigration of Canada, because he gave a very brief speech of, I think, 3 or 4 minutes, and I took just very short clips so you can understand the main measures that Canada will take that may be interesting for many of you, particularly in the tech sector, but in the H-1B realm in general. So let's hear his words first, and then we'll look in detail about the policy that they are implementing.
We are launching a new and dedicated pathway for permanent residents that's specifically available to employees and workers in the STEM sectors. Second, under the Global Skills Strategy, this is a program that was launched about 5 years ago and was extremely successful to bring talented people to this country, but it was hampered by pandemic processing delays. A new application that comes in today, we expect we can process that work permit in just 2 weeks so companies can have access to the talent that they need when they need it. Over the course of this year, Canada is going to be developing a specific stream for some of the world's most highly talented people that will be able to come to Canada to work for tech companies, whether they have a job offer or not. We've been watching very closely what's been going on in the tech sector in the United States. Where we've seen a public narrative around layoffs, we've been having private conversations about opportunities. Going forward, as of July 16th, we will have a stream that will allow 10,000 H-1B visa holders in the United States to come and work in Canada. The reality, folks, you've got the ideas, but you need the talent. You've told us that and we've been listening. We're going to do everything that we can to position Canada as the destination where your ideas can become a reality.
This is a couple of texts that I took from the Canadian official website, just to talk a little bit more in detail about these policies that they want to implement. An interesting program that they are going to be putting together and executing very soon is this innovation stream under the International Mobility Program, where they want to attract highly talented individuals, okay? So you can read all about it in the website. I'll leave the link below. But basically, they are going for employer-specific work permits of up to 5 years for workers, particularly in tech. They say select in-demand occupations. But they have these employer-specific work permits, and then they have one thing that I thought is very interesting is this open work permits for up to 5 years. So this sounds very similar to an NIW, only it's not permanent residency, but it's like an H-1B where you can self-petition almost. We'll have to wait and see how they give more concrete plans and we understand it better, but it sounds really interesting for many people. The other thing that I wanted to discuss is this streamlined work permit for H-1B specialty occupation visa holders in the US to apply to come to Canada. We heard the minister talking about this, and basically they came out in response to the US issues. You know, a lot of people are being laid off in the US very recently. A lot of H-1B people are in trouble because they have these 60 days to find another job, and Canada is saying, hey, if you don't find that job, or if you are too stressed and you're tired of this immigration system from the US, come to Canada. If you have an H-1B visa, that means you're highly skilled, you're welcome to come here, and this is what they offer. The program will start in July 16, and they are offering 10,000 seats, 10,000 spots for H-1B holders, and they will give an open work permit. Again, a permit where you're not tied to a particular company. You have 3 years, 3 years to find a job, to work in Canada, and that includes spouses and dependents. They are eligible for resident visas, like the one you would get, with work or study permit. So you can get your family and go to Canada and work there. And that will expand opportunities for employees, and of course it will benefit Canada as a country because they will get all that skilled labor that the US is basically leaving, is leaving behind because of their inaction and their inefficiencies of the immigration system. So this is 10,000 seats. For now, we'll see how this program progresses. And again, one thing I have to say is that if you are in the US, if you don't want to leave the US, you don't want to go to Canada, at least yet, or never, I invite you to really look into green card options for you. You have EB1, you have EB2NIW, and I have resources for you that you can use, like my comprehensive online courses that will teach you how to do this process by yourself, so you don't have to rely on a company, you don't have to rely on a lawyer, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars. If you put the time and the effort and the motivation, you can do it. I'll show you how to do it. And you, as a highly skilled individual, will get your permanent residence in the US, and you can stay there with your family forever and basically live that immigration dream of not having to worry about your situation and all that stress that we all hate. So in the next video, we'll talk about the compelling circumstances EAD. But for now, good luck in your green card processes, and thank you for following the channel.